Okay, everybody, we've come from a country which is currently having -10 temperatures and a whole lot of snow. So it's been great to come here. I just feel late. Let's tell you a little bit more about where we're going to be going in the next 48 hours. Assuming, of course, that this works. Yeah. So today, we'll begin very shortly with a practical exercise that'll get you working in probably 2 groups. We'll then call on one of the peer development groups that was tasked to look at Belbin's team roles to make their short presentation. And we'll then start to take apart the idea of team roles in relation to the ERAS information that you'll get a little later. And then you'll get your feedback from the questionnaire and be able to integrate that with the information you got on the last module. Tomorrow, we'll have another practical exercise to lead, which will be quite structured in terms of roles and time and so on. We'll then think about some of the other presentations that we think are out there, and we'll see how we get on with those. We'll think about how we can apply this aspect to our actual working life, and we'll do a bit of preparation for the next module. So that's what we're up to. As ever, we're keen to understand the times that are available, and we'll keep checking with you about this, but we believe at the moment that we can work through until 5:35. Is that about right? We can work through till 5:35?
You can continue until 6 o'clock.
We can, okay.
To give us a time for prayer.
Yeah. Great, all right. So we could work this piece through until 6. All right, we'll need to keep checking that with you to make sure we understand. Okay. One thing I'd like to just check now is, do we have people from each of the 4 peer development groups here? Or do we have any peer development groups that have no members? So, how are we going to do that? Our great idea last time of taking photographs of each of the peer development groups with your names, it was a wonderful idea. However, like a lot of wonderful ideas, technology let us down a little bit. So we have 2 groups that we could read the cards, and for 2 groups we just couldn't read the cards at all. So, if you're in a group that was tasked to research Belbin, could you just stick your hand up, please? Yeah, team roles, Belbin team roles. Were you in that group? Okay, just one person? Ah, okay.
Maybe you could sit in there.
Yeah, if you could maybe sit in those groups, that would work really well. We will have to sort of move around a bit during this couple of days, but if you could start sat back in those peer development groups that we established late on in the exercise.
شباب الاسبوع الجلسه اللي فاتت قسموكم فرق 5 فرق صح؟ وهو يبغاكم الحين تجلسوا كل واحد مع الفريق اللي كان مؤسس له الجلسه اللي فاتت. اللي مو شايف احد من فريقه هنا يجلس لحاله يقول انه انا من الفريق هذا.
Belbin team roles. I'll write it up. So Mutaz.
We have one guy who doesn't have a group.
Okay.
So, but first let's sort out this
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
Then we attend to his needs. Okay. He doesn't have a group? Okay, just sit with the...
So let's try to assign the groups with what we set up. Which group, please? We're looking at Belbin team roles. That's the first of these things here. Yourselves?
No.
Okay.
Member of the team, but our leader, I don't know where is it, but he didn't give us any instruction about that task.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe
All right.
don't give that.
Okay. Let me just try a slightly different question and approach. Is there any group here who have brought a short presentation about one of these topics to be able to present this time? Has any group done that? Doesn't look like it. Okay, that's all right. Okay. We'll shelve that idea. That's no problem. We'll make sure, by the way, that we give you your feedback from the first module. We'll set time aside for that. But now, we're going to actually set up a practical exercise. Ian, do you think we should work in one group or two for this? I think we can work in two. Yeah. So, how we'd like to do this, and Mutaz may need to just reinforce this, we'd actually like to mix these peer development groups again. So we end up with two groups that have people in from each of the peer development groups. So we're constantly mixing. You'll be returning to this group during this module and the next. Don't forget who's in it. But for this task, we'd like you to come out here and set two groups up that have a mixture of each of the four groups, please.
Just cover the document. Second one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Have they actually? Yeah, okay.
so their document, that group there, but their leader's not here, and I don't think they've done anything. Second group is here.
Yeah.
Last time they didn't have, they weren't here last time, so they weren't allocated
Sure.
to group.
Okay.
Number 2, number 1, number 2.
Yeah, number two. Yes.
2. So remember that number.
Okay.
Great. Great.
Should we get them out here and get leaders?
Yeah, what? Yeah. Yeah, so could one come out and stand here and put out 2 of them? One from the front.
We're learning a lot. We're learning a lot.
Even the homework reset. Even the homework reset for them.
One here.
Only a handful have done it. And we've been
You've
chasing.
got the first exercise, you just need to choose a leader from your group, and I will take that leader away and give them some information about the first task. So it might be somebody who's not had this opportunity before. If you didn't do it last time, there's going to be somebody else. So we're looking for a leader from the group. Are you happy to do that? Yeah. Excellent. Yes. And do we have one? So a volunteer, just one person. Yeah.
Hassan, you must do it. You didn't do it before. You must do it.
Looks like you've been propelled, Hassan.
Bring something to write on, so I'll give you some information, a piece of paper and a pen to write on. Do you want me to take them now?
Yeah, that's fine, Ian. And they will return here to pick the groups up. Okay, fellas. While Ian is briefing the leaders, we'd like to just have a conversation in your group and in your group that you might want to make a few notes on that conversation. And it's about what do you expect the leader to do to get the best out of the potential that is in your group. Could somebody replay that in Arabic? I'll say it again in English. What do you expect, or if you like, want, the leader to do to get the best out of the potential that exists in this group?
وش تتوقع من القائد اللي ياخذ افضل امكانيات من
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Take a seat and just make a few notes. It'll probably be about 5 minutes or so before the leader comes back down again. So have a few notes ready. Yeah, quick conversation. Somebody make a few notes. Yeah, quick discussion. It would be good to have a note or two, yeah. So, doesn't need to be a flip chart, just a few notes on paper. So. The leaders will be coming down shortly. Let's just find out what people have been talking about. Let's pull over here, guys. Okay, fellas, while we're waiting out for our leaders, let's just find out the sort of things that came up in your conversations. Don't worry too much about having perfect notes or anything. It's more about just capturing some of the points that you talked about so we don't lose them. Okay, close right in as well. Let's have a circle. So, what lay behind my question was about this: what is the role of the leader really? Is the role of the leader now out there to be somebody who is trying to solve a problem and is going to come back and give you a solution for you to do, or exactly, or something different? Which is why I asked the question about what do you expect for this person to get the best out of the potential of this group. What do people talk about?
In our group, okay, they ask like he gonna come and ask about the capabilities of the team individually, and then he would understand the task and break down to each one. Then he has to have good communication skills in order to let them understand the goal of the team, and he has to let us to manage the time of the project. And he has ability to intervene when the problem comes over to manage the conflict, and also he has ability to delegate the work from person to other person sometimes if it's needed.
Okay. We'll come back to that delegate in a minute. We'll talk a bit more about that. How about you guys?
Well, my question consulting Well, first, the clarity of the leader and his goals. Second is giving opportunities to the team members to know what they can do and what they are able to do. How can they do the job?
Yep.
Third one is to know the background of each member and what he's capable of. These 3 points we've written here.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
So I think the last point is motivation.
Yeah. To add that bit of energy into the piece.
Yes.
Yeah. And to, I guess, to some extent, role model a way of operating and a way of being energetic. Okay. Back to the delegation conversation. Are we talking about delegating a task, or are we talking about delegating more a whole area or process, do you think? What gets the best out of people? Is it to be told, do that and do it, and that is delegation, or is it much broader than that?
I think if he tries to delegate to someone, that actually has to be his assistant.
Yeah? Okay.
But if he delegates the task itself, each one, maybe he will find out that during the work, that person who has been asked to do this task,
Yep.
he find out that he's not able to do this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he can move it on to other person.
Yeah.
So that's what I understand from the question.
In this instance, because I know the exercise obviously that we're going to be inviting you to take part in, it'll be interesting whether the leader delegates some sort of responsibility for, can you come up with an alternative way of doing this? We're going to carry on doing this, but if it fails, can you have thought through how we might do it differently? That's not delegating a task, it's delegating a process, an area, something that engages all of you. Head, hands, the lot. So let's see. I think the group, yeah, we're here. Thanks very much, fellas. That's good. Great. Okay, and we've just had a quick conversation about what the leader can do to get the very best out of the potential of these groups. And we've come up with a few things. So, well, we've shared it here. I don't think we should share it first. We should probably share it last, really.
Okay.
So,
Great. So guys, I briefed your two leaders. They have the information. The exercises upstairs, they're identical exercises. They're the same exercise. You're going to go up there and your leader will give you all the information, what needs to be done. If you have any questions, then you can refer them to the leader first, and then he'll check with me. Okay? Okay. Shall we go? So we had a few more people turn up, Andy, is that right?
yes, I think so.
Good.
So,
That's good. That's a bit more opportunity.
yeah.
And so nobody's got any...
It doesn't look like it. No. And what myself and Mutaz are going to do is have a kind of slightly more robust conversation than we've had so far. When we've done pull this together. So look nice.
Okay, guys. Your 5 minutes starts now. Your planning time. 5 minutes starts now. So your 5 minutes starts now.
Ian,
5.
I'll go and get my clock.
Yeah.
So,
Things in my briefcase.
right, your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't need it for this.
Camera.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Great.
Okay, that's great.
الآن مثلا واحد هنا واحد هنا واحد هنا واحد هنا واحد هنا. أنا أدخل أنا الوحيد اللي أدخل. فقط شخص واحد لا تقدر تصل لوحدك بس نبغى نكون عشان. طبعا ما في واحد من في واحد صح واحد
For your part of your planning, you can look round for this for your planning stage. Yes, yeah. You can look round for your planning if you want. To the planning, yes, yeah. But you can't go in. You can just look round. Yeah.
لازم بالترتيب 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 لو قلنا 10
انا حضرت 3 القام بال 10 13 20 21
لو قلنا 10 13 20 15 طيب انا ممتاز بس من هو المفضل؟ ولازم واحد يدخل يحضر اول واحد
انا عشان الشيخ ايش التحدي
Time. You'll have 3 attempts. You can plan between attempts. Did you get that? You can plan between attempts, 3 attempts.
I can't now.
You can plan between, yeah.
So it's best out of 3?
Best time out of 3, yeah. So you have 3 attempts. You can plan between attempts as well. Okay. Okay, Andy. Andy's going to watch that group, and I'm going to watch this.
Or if you want to do a practice attempt and I'll time it with your information, I'll do that. You must declare if it's a scoring time. Okay, you must declare so this is one of those.
Okay. So is this a time run? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to time. So when you say go, I'll time.
Let's go.
Sure. Almost a run. No, just touch.
بس المس يلا اللي بعد يلا
14 هنا
يلا اطلع
13 و20 21 يلا
جنب رجلك على اليسار جنب رجلك على اليسار
24 يلا 24
21
28
Okay, so 1:25, 1 minute 25 seconds for your first attempt, and there was no fouls. There was almost a little foul, but I'm not going to count that. But be aware, 1:25. So again, you can plan now. You can go and plan. Yeah. So you can go around and look at it again, or you can have another go. It's up to you.
انا بس كم ضيعت 11 ضيعت وانت ضيعت 21 20 21 ضيعت
لا 20
عشان بس نتاكد من الارقام
3 4 انا جاهز
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
They're doing practice runs that are timed
Yeah.
just for
Themselves.
fun.
Yeah. Sorry?
When do you stop?
I stop when everybody's back here.
أجل أوكي listen guys تبون خطة أحسن اللي يخلص يرجع عشان ما يصير ضغط لأنه he'll stop يخلص يرجع. Okay?
If anyone finish,
He can come back for saving time. Okay?
طيب دكتور على طول يلا بسم الله خلوا واحد اشتغل راكد يا شباب علم الجماعه انطلقت الحين بخفف
خلاص يلا على دكتور راح جو
توسع بعدين اللي يخلص يرجع.
شفتها
تحسب دي ولا ما تحسب؟
عادي 21
Okay, so that time it was 1 minute 9 seconds, so it was faster, but there was a foul. So 12 and 21 was out of sequence. So that time wouldn't count. So you still 125 is your best time.
Is it counted? I mean, if you touch 21,
If you,
I don't touch it.
it's got to be in sequence. So yeah.
أنا جاي لك أحبط.
So you've one more attempt, but you can go and look again and no, you can go. It's a good question. It's good, yeah. You can go and look round and plan before your final attempt.
Yes. How many minutes before the first time?
For the first 1 minute 25.
now 1.9
But it didn't count because there's a foul. So yeah.
at least يعني. The last one is the same, or you should take the mean for all these three.
I'd take the best. The best, yeah.
Can I do it now?
You can, if you want to go around and chalk and to plan. If you want to go around now before you start and plan to make sure, you can do that. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. This is your final attempt. Do you want to have a practice or?
But
You can have a practice, yeah.
Okay, let's do
As long as if I'm not, you must tell me when you're timing.
Okay. So we can do practice. I'll do practice.
You're standing round, yeah.
I'll tell you.
Was that the second go, Andy? Yeah. Yeah.
We've been practicing.
Okay.
And we're down to 56 seconds.
Yeah. There's 8 minutes left.
8 minutes left, guys. Shovel the flag. Gonna get into action.
اللي قالها محمد خطوه ممتازه. انا بالاخير احنا اهم شيء اخر واحد. ولا تكون موجوده في
خلاص بعد ال20 خلاص بعد العزيز كلهم اللي باقي ما عنده وقت اي خلاص قبل واحد لان اصلا الخروج اللي بعد الوقت اما يا جماعه
سواء خلاص لا تسمع كم يلا دقيقة سيم خلاص
ترى كان في رقصة
يلا
Are you going to go for it? This is.
يلا 3 2 معانا شباب pointing. They're pointing inside. It doesn't work. They're pointing inside.
That's fine. They can. No, they're having a practice.
Is there practice?
So this is your final attempt. Happy. Okay. Final attempt.
That's right. No. That's right.
48 seconds. 48. That's very good. So that was your 3 runs now. They've just got a... You've only got a few minutes left. You've only got a few minutes left. You've got 4 minutes left.
Okay, I'm asking about the team. How many minutes?
اثنين ثلاثة هناك 4 5 هنا 6 وراك في 6 مشكلة 7
So I know this is a time run for them. Yeah.
His hand is going inside the circle.
Where?
Just count it.
Where's his hand?
There.
Yeah. Ah, right. Yes. So it's. Yeah. So you could. I'll tell them.
22 جو 24 جو 25 26
تعال يا شباب 25 يلا تعال جاني ها
يلا ها
So guys, just a technical point. If you're standing here and point, your arm is in the circle. That would be a foul. If you need to point, you need to be outside. So you can't point in. So that technically wouldn't count. So how many more attempts? Yeah. Guys, you've got 2 minutes and you've no time runs yet. So is this a time run?
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 هناك ايوه 8 هنا 9 10 عندي
10 اللي بعدها
11 12 على هون 13 14 15 ايوه 16 هنا 17
في النص
عندي
في النص
18
عندي 19 هذه 19 هذه 20 تكعب 21 22 23 تكعب 24 تفضل 25 26 27
اخو محمد
28
29 يلا بسم الله اولنا لا
So guys, you've only got 48 seconds left. Well, they used all their 20 minutes, you see. So you had 20 minutes to do 3 attempts. They've used their time for a practice. You choose to not, so yeah.
هذه براكتس 14 15
No, walking fast, that's fine.
ايوه 17 في النص 18 19 20 عندي
هنا
اللي بعده 21 22 23 24 25
No, this is last one.
26 27
8 seconds left.
بسرعه 4 3 2 1 go.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the best time for the 3 runs for this group was 48 seconds.
The best time for this group was 48 seconds until the last run when they got to 44 seconds.
Okay. So 44 seconds. There is a second phase. So the leaders, I'm just going to quickly talk to the leaders, but I'm going to talk to the rest of you. So 48 seconds, 44 seconds, very good. But in the real world, your competitors have been watching you do this, and they've said, we'll copy what they'll do. Now your competitors are as good as you. So you've got to be better. So you've got to come up with a way to be even faster. If you do the same thing again, you won't get any faster. So you've got to change, leaders. You've got to come up with a radical way of doing something different. We have a saying in England, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got, which means that to improve, you've got to do something different. So you've 5 minutes to plan a way of making it even better. So same circumstances, same rules, but 5 minutes to come up with a way of getting that score even faster. And if you do the same thing, I can tell you now, that won't happen. So leaders, over to you. 5 minutes. You can go around to look and come up with ideas and plan, but 5 minutes, and you only have 1 run. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
It's not about dividing the fairly numbers, not dividing like.
So the best scores that I've seen
Just the best.
is about, the fastest I've seen it is on this situation is maybe around 32 seconds. So to give you an idea. Was it clear? Did you understand? Yeah. So 5 minutes to come up with a different way of doing it that's even faster. Yeah. Good. So the sort of stuff that they said downstairs, it was pretty good, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it mirrors the fact that we're working with experienced people
Yeah.
who can think.
Yeah.
It's the tolerance for challenging each other,
Yeah.
or for all themselves and other
Yeah.
people to account.
Yeah. And did they give an indication why it didn't happen?
No, not yet.
No.
We've not had that conversation.
No.
I'm thinking of doing it as part of the what is a team thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, in some
Yeah.
ways, what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's about commitment. It's about
Yeah.
core purpose and
Yeah.
being interdependent.
Yeah. So I've got 17, I think. Is that right? Sorry. Yeah, 17. No, is that 15? 15 have we got?
I'll make it 15.
That's
not to say that
No.
somebody doing something else.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah. There was 1 8 and a 7.
Yeah. Which one of our groups only had 2 people.
Yeah.
Somebody else arrived, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You can have a practice, yeah, you can, yeah. You can, and you can have a practice as well, yeah.
نقدر نسوي براكتس؟
حسب براكتس على نفس السيكونس؟ لا ولا تبي تغير؟ لا كيف نغير؟ نزيد خلينا نشوف.
It is, yes, yeah. I answer that. Yeah, you can have a practice if you want to. No, it's a good question, but and to manipulate your environment's a great idea, but on this occasion, no. Yeah. Only a little bit, no.
So, it's like it must change.
So you must do it faster. Yeah.
We don't have to change the things.
No, but if you do what you did before,
we can't break.
you get to, you'll just be the same time. So yeah. So to do, sometimes you need to do, to get better, you need to do a radical thing, really.
So
Guys, 3 minutes. 3 minutes left. 3 minutes. Hello. How are you doing? Nice to see you again. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
It's real.
We left our cameras back home. You have work.
Yeah. So they've got to touch these discs as quickly as possible. So they've been set up with a leader, and now they've got a very good time. They've had 3 attempts. Now the challenge now is to do something different that you've done before, not sticking to the same thing you've done all the time, and get a better performance. So there'll be people who want to do the same thing and say no, we should stick to it, and there'll be people who will be arguing for a radical shift. And even though I can't understand them, I can guess that's what's going on. It's, yeah. Yeah.
Large over there.
So guys, 1 minute left. You have 1 minute left. You can do it.
For practice.
Yeah, well.
I'm shaking time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 minutes we'll be able to shake a big back.
And again, I think, just kind of watching it is that feeding in some of those traits, those Belbin traits about people, attention to detail, and other people just driving to get the top score, other people saying, no, you've not understood the rules, that sort of stuff.
We could perhaps do a little bit of hands-on feedback in here.
Yeah.
On those criteria.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Yeah. Who drove the exercise forward? Who was caught? Who was good at reminding of the rules? Who came up with good ideas and tried to think? Who was cared about the welfare of the group and that everybody understood what was going on? Who took on? Who coordinated the process? That sort of stuff. Okay. So guys, we're coming to our final run now. Just let him finish his practice. If you okay, guys, we got to do the. We are, yes, yeah.
Start all the same time. You're going to count us down?
I will do. Oops. Okay, guys, this is the final run. We'll have a countdown. 3, 2, 1, go.
طلع من اقرب زاويه يلا اسرع اسرع
يلا 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 اسرع
حلو جهز اطلع من اقرب نقطه يا شباب اقرب نقطه اطلع يلا يلا
Okay, so we have a scores. Any fouls, Andy?
3 seconds, 43 seconds.
43, 36 seconds. And so
43.88.
43.88. Right, it's 43.88 and 36.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, for these guys. So, yeah, so you guys, your best time on the first time runs was 48, and you went to 36, so you shaved off 12 seconds, and that's about just under 30%. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and your very first attempt was 1 minute and 28. Yeah, so you almost shaved off 50 seconds from that. So you've had nearly 200% improvement from the first. Yeah. Okay. So.
Inquiry request over here.
Yes.
There's a big concern that in our perception,
Yes.
that group were running.
No, I gave a definition of what running was, and the definition of running is having 1 foot on the ground. That's a run. This is a quick walk. There's a difference. Okay. Yeah.
Draws into question. Just draw into question. Was this activity about getting a better time than that?
Yeah. So guys. Yeah. So guys, so Andy was making a really interesting point, which is quite common to all groups. It's when we're in competition, who we're in competition with. Are we in competition with ourselves, or are we in competition with somebody else? Were we in competition with that group and vice versa? Or were you in competition against yourself for the best time? And that's a question, a really good question to answer, and it's something that we'll look at in a second. Do you want to do the hands-on?
Yeah. I do.
You want
Let
to
me
sit up?
explain how this next bit's going to work. You need to get in a fairly circular group in each of the two.
With your groups, yeah.
And you have 2 votes. Your votes in your hands, okay? Now if I was to put a question in such as, put your hands on a person who has bare feet, then you would put your hands on somebody who has bare feet.
On the shoulder.
On their shoulders, on their back, not on their head or up their nose or in their eyes, around there. So let's try that one. Stick your hand on somebody who has bare feet.
So it's a recognition. If anybody had a bare feet, you would put their hand on the shoulder as a recognition.
Yeah.
Okay. So for this group, it's got to apply to that person. So if can you put your hand on the shoulder of anybody who has a pen in their pocket on this team? Anybody with a pen in their pocket, you've got to put your hand on their shoulder. If it applies to them, yeah, not bare feet. No, so I'm going to say if you have a pen in your pocket, you need to put your hand on somebody with a pen in their pocket. So you have a vote as well. So you've got to touch somebody with a pen in. You have a vote, yeah. You have a vote, yeah, and you need to vote as well. Yeah.
So what's the idea of
It's just anything that applies to that person. No, you touch anybody in the group. So we'll give you serious questions. Let me give you another question. Put your hand on somebody who's wearing a watch in your group. Anybody who's wearing a watch, you've got to put your hand on, and you've got to vote for them. So if somebody in the group is wearing a watch, you've got to vote. Yeah. You need to vote as well. Yeah. That's great. Great. Okay. So you've got the idea. So we've got to ask a series of questions now that you'll need to make a choice about whose shoulder you're going to put on. Yeah. Does that make sense? So the questions we've got to give you questions like, for for you who came up with a good idea, that type of thing, who took a leadership role. That's the sort of questions Andy will give you. And then you will pick the person who you thought came up with a good idea or whatever. Does that make sense? And you vote. Does it make sense? So,
I couldn't hear you.
So Andy will say a question. So put your hand on anybody who you felt in this group had a good idea. Yeah. And then you will vote with that
idea with that competition.
with that exercise. Yeah. Yeah.
السؤال كيف؟ السؤال انه بيسال اي سؤال، مثلا بيقول حطي عندك على قد واحد كان عنده افكار ممتازه.
نعم.
انت
الشمال ما قال الشمال.
خلاص الليدر حقك.
Okay, so we'll start now. We'll do it as a separate group. It's going to be easier.
He gave a good idea.
Yeah. So let's start with that then. So during the exercise, put your hand on anybody you felt came up with a good idea. So you have to vote. Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be the same. Anybody you thought. It might be a different person. Good. Yeah. And yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Just have a look. So I'll give you another question now. So hands on somebody who was very good at understanding the rules of the exercise. Somebody who was very good at understanding the rules and regulations. Yeah. Yeah. Just keep your hand there so you can see. Yeah. Yeah. Hands on somebody who was very good at making sure that you stuck to the rules, that you actually did what you said, who told you you can do that, you can't do that, who made you stick to those rules.
He's the one as well.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. 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 So hands on somebody.
Also he did it.
Yeah.
I remember because someone pointed and he said, "Make sure."
Hands on somebody who was very enthusiastic during the exercise. Very enthusiastic, wanted to do really well and get the best time. Yeah. Yeah. Just hold it there to see. Good. That's great. So another question. Hands on somebody who was concerned for everybody, who wanted to make sure that they understood, they were part of it and they had a job. So somebody who was concerned for the group. Yeah. 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 Okay. Next question. Hands on somebody, if you had a dispute, if somebody said let's do it this way and somebody said let's do it that way, somebody who was very good at helping that dispute to come to a conclusion. It was somebody who was very good at making sure that you.
كان في خلاف جمع بين الطرفين، كانوا في اثنين مختلفين وجمع بين الطرفين.
اعتقد الليدر لانه كان سمع مني
كان في معارضه هنا.
معارضه قويه.
كان في معارضه
يا جماعه.
Have an objection.
Sorry.
Have an objection.
You have an objection? Yeah.
So not gonna vote anyone.
You know,
there was actually, but the situation made us go to the other before scenario.
Yeah.
Because we have other scenario.
It's just kind of not to say that it was the best, but somebody who's aware of that. There's a faction saying do this, and somebody else is saying do that. But they were very good at making people come to a conclusion. So the next question then. So somebody who was very good at making sure that you kept on time, that you kept to the time schedule. Okay. And we talked about somebody having a good idea, but this is slightly different. So hands on somebody who was very good at saying whether the idea would work or not. So it's not coming up with the idea, but we're very good at actually analysing the idea and saying, well, it would work or it won't work. Does that make sense? So was there anybody who said, when somebody presented an idea, who was very good at saying, that'll work or that won't work? So somebody who was analytical, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a vote, that's fine.
هذا
اللي عارض يا شيخ.
يا هذا العارض هذا العارض هو مو على اللي عارض هو على اللي حلل لانه هو قال بنخبص.
Was there anybody in the team who actually said, I've done something like this before and I'm a bit of a specialist, I've got some knowledge about this, who had experience about something similar? No. Sometimes people have, or they may said, I'm good at strategy, so I can think I've got a good way of doing it. No, on that side of it. Okay. So
it's not a good way to request the people to follow your idea when you say that. It sounds like copy.
Well, not necessarily. Well, I guess what I'm looking for, if somebody said, look, I'm a very good analyst, so I've worked it out mathematically or that type of thing.
So numbers, yes, we actually was engagement. He said, let's divide it by 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5. And I believe also the doctor mentioned that.
Okay, so
so it was like an engagement.
Yeah, so that great. So that one. So somebody who's analytical then.
Yes.
So
divide the numbers.
Yeah. So hands on somebody who's analytical. Great. Okay. So with that, just before we go, so what I want you to do then is that people take on different roles. Are you still sat in those groups? Fantastic. Yeah. For the people who've arrived a little later, earlier on we put people into their peer development groups. So the group that you were working with previously, if you could sit with those, that would be really useful. I don't know if you can remember which it was. Yeah.
Previous group from last module? Or?
Yeah, from the last module. We had a group of 5 people. Yeah. It was the 5, yeah. We had people in 5s last time. There was 4 groups of 5, yeah. I can tell you, I have
a picture of 2 groups. No, please. Just one. ثواني بس. اوكي استاذ موسى مازن
ما جاء.
وين طارق؟
طارق موجود.
طارق
والشيخ
عبد الله
عبد العزيز
لسه هو وضع مو مبين وين بيروح.
سجلناه بعد اليوم معنا.
Okay, so I've sorted out this group.
غير الجروب إذا ما جاء.
محمد العكاسي and Riyadh. Nawaf. Yes, okay, so these two are missing, no issue. Then صالح والأستاذ فيصل ورياض. اوكي وفي مين رابعكم؟ مين اللي كان جالس هنا؟ اي اللي معكم انتم الاربعه ناقصكم واحد.
بس ناقصين علي.
اوكي
علي يعني جالسين مع بعض.
علي سالم و وين علوي؟ ايوه من هذا؟ اوكي انتم الثلاثه مع بعض. Okay, so we have how many groups now? This is the same. This is the guys here. They have some guys missing. This is this group here. This group is that one there.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think I have a group here, which is this group here.
Excellent. So we're all back.
Okay.
Fantastic. And we're all back. Good. Okay, guys, so thank you for being back after the break. So what we're going to get you to do now is to consider the last exercise. And while the leaders were getting briefed, the group that was down here, they had a discussion about what they may expect from a leader. And we've got to get them to share a little bit of what that was now. So we're just going to get a couple of people to make some comments about the things that you mentioned that you were looking for from a leader, what the things you expected. And by all means, please do this in Arabic. It'll make it easier for you, and Mumtaz can translate for me. So the conversation you had while the leaders were out of the room, I'm just going to ask you to share a few points with us, and we'll start with you guys over there, if that's okay. And by all means, do it in Arabic, and Mumtaz will translate, I'm sure. Yeah, they're just commenting on the feedback. Yeah,
Okay.
from the when the leaders were upstairs, they mentioned what they expect from a leader.
اوكي.
Just a couple of points. Yeah, from
قبل ما
that.
تطلعوا للاكتيفيتي هو اخذ اثنين اللي هو حسن ومحمد، وكان قايل للباقيين انه ايش الاشياء اللي انت تبغاها من الليدر تبعك، صح؟ صحيح. هو الحين يبغى الفيدباك تبعكم، ايش هي الاشياء اللي ضفتوها ايش الاشياء اللي تناقشتوا فيها اللي تبغاها من الليدر؟ فبيسال الجروب هذا اول شيء. اللي يجي.
طيب هو الشيء الاول انه جاي يوضح لنا المطلوب، يعني ايش الهدف من اللي يفترض انه نحققه، يعني يوحد توجيهات الفريق.
Okay. First, he said he needs to set them a clear goal and how to achieve that goal, how to go into that path to achieve that goal.
And maybe another one of the comments from.
ايضا يعني يحاول انه يوزع الادوار بين اعضاء الفريق، ولما يكون فيه اكثر من راي انه يحاول انه يوصل الى توافق بين الاعضاء.
Okay. He said he should be able to delegate certain tasks
Right.
to the
Okay.
teams and encourage and coordinate between the team.
Great. So there's some really good expectations
Yeah.
before it started, and maybe this group could share a couple of their comments as well. Some of the things that you mentioned while the leaders were out of the room. Yeah. Thank you.
يعني أول شيء أتوقع القائد اللي يعرف إمكانيات فريقه، إمكانيات أفراد الفريق. رأينا في القائد، قائدنا اللي قبل شوي.
You can whisper to me if you want while we're doing it.
كان مستمع جيد، مستمع وموجه جيد.
بس هو السؤال انه قبل ما تروحوا لفوق هو سألكم، عندي سألكم ايش اللي انتم تتوقعوا، ايش اللي تحتاجوه من القائد تبعكم عشان تنجحوا في التاسك. فهذه من المتطلبات. اي بس هو يبغى يسأل وجهة نظركم انتم كمجموعة.
طيب يعني واحدة من الاشياء اللي اتفقنا عليها ان القائد يتعرف علينا ويعرف امكانيات كل الموجودين.
He said that the person or the leader should know the capabilities of every single person in that team and what they're capable of doing.
Right, that's a really good point. Yeah, understanding the team.
أيضاً أنه يوصل المطلوب بشكل واضح للموجودين، يعني إيش مطلوب
في الشرح.
في الشرح هذا أيضاً كنا.
Okay, he's saying one of the things is that the person should be able to explain the task of what needs to be done when they go up there.
Okay, clearly. And just a couple of points from this group, if we may.
This group here?
And previous to that question asked by Mr. Andy, we mentioned that the leader should empower and motivate the group to work together. So everyone should get involved. Even if they don't have the capabilities, they should be given a task to delegate. And I believe the exercise, what we did, we ensured that each member contribute at least even within one number.
Yeah. And could you just, the first bit, could you just translate that into Arabic so everybody understands?
Okay.
Yeah.
النقطة الأولى إنه القائد يجب إنه يعطي أو يشجع الكل على إنه يشتغل مع بعض بشكل متناغم. كذلك من الاشياء المهمه القائد انه يخلي الكل انفولد، الكل داخل في الموضوع، ما في يكون شخص ما له اي رول او اي اداء في المهمه، مثل ما سوينا في التمرين السابق فوق. لازم واحده من الشروط انه الشخص لو ياخذ رقم واحد، فبغض النظر عن قدرات الشخص لازم يكون جزء من الفريق.
Great, thank you. And then we've got a final group over here. Have you any comments to add about that conversation you had with Andy when I was out of the room?
I think our colleague did a good job.
Oh, so he was in your group, but okay, good. It just it might be easier for the next bit if we sit in those groups. It makes it easier for us. So I asked the leaders when they were out at break to think about their approach. What is it that they felt is important? So once you're given a task to do, you've lots of options. You can say, well, I'm going to guide, I'm going to lead, I'm going to tell people what to do, or I'm going to go away and I have no idea what to do and I could ask my team. So I'm really interested on their thoughts about when they left the room, what they were thinking about and how they felt they might manage it. What was their intentions? So could you translate that for us? Oh, sorry. You understood, I think, didn't you? Yeah. And again in Arabic, by all means. Yeah, your intentions.
So let me first translate it to them.
Sure.
هو كان يسأل عن لما الليدرز طلعوا فوق، شافوا اللعبة، ايش كان الشيء اللي يفكرون به؟ هل كانوا
I'll just get them to share that question rather than just kind of think about it rather than getting into huddles because they're spread out.
When I asked the question, I asked it of the two tasks.
Yeah.
Not of four.
Yeah.
So let's just get what we
Yeah.
فكرت خطة سريعة إنه كم عدد وما كان عندي عدد، يعني طلعت من هنا وأنا ما أدري كم عدد الفريق أصلا. فكانت خطة يعني في بدايتها مضروبة، يعني إنه ما عندي العدد في البداية. فكنت خلني أروح وأول شيء أسويه إني أروح أعد الجروب. فأول ما جيت هنا على طول عديتهم. أول شيء عديت بعد ما عديته قلت أجل خلينا دامني عديت الحين خلينا فوق إذا طلعنا الجروب إذا شاف احنا نتكلم يعني كلنا ايش ممكن تنتج من فكرة. وبالفعل هذا الشيء صار. انا كان جانبي اللهم حكايه اللي حطيت القوانين انه ما نسوي كذا، ما نجري، ما نحط، ولكن اعتقد انه كان الاغلبيه كل واحد في الفريق كان قائد بتوجيهاته، اضاف شيء مهم كل واحد في الفريق. اللهم انا كنت الشخص اللي اخذ الاشياء هذه وقال يلا خلينا نسوي.
And could you just do a really quick summary for myself and Andy's benefit? Just a really quick one.
The first I was translating, I say that when we was upstairs, first thing, the first plan, it was like, what is the number of my group? How many person in my group? And I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I said I have to wait until I go downstairs, and then after that we can decide. So when we came to here, first thing I did it was counting them. So when I count them, I decided to change that. I will never give them a plan at that time. So when we go again upstairs, I just like let every one of them give an idea, and I was just taking this idea and just guide them for work for each idea I take it and just let it work.
Great. So that was your intention, and it sounds like you followed it through. And our second leader, if they could, there we go. So again, if you could do a similar thing, what was your intention when you left the room? What were you hoping to give the group, and what was your strategy, I guess, really?
طيب انا صراحه في البدايه وانا راقي الدور الثاني كان هدفي اني احاول افهم اللعبه وقواعدها وكيف
My first task was to understand the game, the rules, the guidelines, and how to.
فكره اني اوصل معلومه للفريق.
Then I can share that information with you, and I feel that that's half of the part of the task to be achieved. And we always have a problem in translating what we understood to our colleagues.
للفريق. كان عندي كيف؟ لا الحمد لله. كان عندي بعض الخطط يعني اقدر اسميها عشوائيه بحكم ان الوقت كان ضيق. فمجرد اني شرحت اللعبه
At the beginning, I had random plans, but as soon as I explained it to the team,
مباشرة مثلا الشباب اللي عندنا بدأوا بالافكار هذه.
and the team started to think to
واحد من
generate a
الفريق
plan.
يعني طلع فكرة هي اللي كانت في بالي كنت كويس يعني.
And one of the team members, he came up
بعد
with an idea
ذلك
which
يعني وجدت التفاعل من الجميع
I thought was
إن كل
the
واحد
right
يطلع
one,
فكرة
because it was in my mind as well.
وحل. فكان دوري وقتها في إني كيف أدير الحوار، كيف نسمع من بعض،
Then my role
كيف نوصل
changed
إلى
to
حل
start
مثالي.
to managing the group and discussing
دوري على تدير الحوار و يعني نخلص إلى حل مثالي
and understanding others' point of view.
So that's great. Again, Mustaf translated for me while you were speaking, and it sounds like that you change your strategy to make people understand and then to facilitate. That's great. So we've got a question really for the people to give a little bit of feedback to the leaders. They've told you their intentions, they've told you what they wanted to do, and this question is what did the leader do to get the best out of the potential in the group? So what did your leader do to get the best out of you as a team? So if you could just have a little think and just give a few points back that what you felt your leader did regarding to get the best out of you. Could you translate that possible?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What do leaders do to get the best out of the
Team, yeah.
يعني يقول لك اول سؤال انه ايش هو الشيء اللي تحسه القائد تبع الفريق حاول يطلع منك كشخص من ضمن الفريق. السؤال الثاني what did the team do which supported the leader؟ من وجهة نظرك.
No, just the first one.
Just the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, just the first one. Just الأولى يعني أول واحدة بس. اللي هي إنه كيف القائد يعني من ناحيته هو إنه بدأ يحمس الفريق أو إيش الأشياء اللي كان يسويها اللي خلت الفريق أو الجروب تبعكم يعني يطلع أفكار، حوارات، تحفيز. هذا السؤال الأول.
And we just look.
من تسووا في الجروبس in their groups, right?
Yeah. Just a few pointers, just a few brief pointers, yeah.
Yeah. So تكتبوها ك يعني نقاط معينة بس وبتسوي عليها discussion.
Yeah, do share with us. If you've got a particular point, then do share. Go with a gut action, don't worry too much about it, things that you noticed. Yeah, you can have a little chat and share, yeah. So just a couple of points we're just looking for to share, yeah, just a couple of points between you. So I'll ask you and then I'll ask the teams, yeah. So just a few points that you were aware of that what the leader did to get the best out of the group. Are you okay with that? Yeah. Are you this part of this group? Yes. So again, just a few points that you were aware of that enable the leader that they did. Really. No.
Are you thinking that people are working back in their peer development groups now, or the two task groups that we have?
Well, they're working in the peer development groups.
Yeah,
because we've sat them in. That's why we've sat them into. And it's just even though they're going to be sharing it with different leaders, it's going to be a similar thing.
You want them in their peer groups, right?
Yeah, they are at the moment. They're sat there. Yeah, I've checked it.
تشتغلوا بنفس الجروبات الخمسة اللي وزعناها الجلسة
No, they're in the peer development groups.
The one we done last month?
No, the one we did last month. Yeah,
yes. Okay. نفس المجموعات اللي سويناها المرة اللي فاتت. الخمس أشخاص. مو حقت اليوم لما طلعنا فوق الفريقين. الحين محمد العكاز. لا مو تي تيمز.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've gone round and asked, and I'm getting yes we are, and obviously we're not.
I think we need to really specify.
Yeah. I guess it's not a big thing here, really, is it, for this? Yeah. Guys, it's fine. We'll just go with what we've got, really. So I'm just looking for a brief comment, a quick share, really. So just a few comments from each group. I think it's fine what you're doing this. Okay guys, so I'm going to get you to share briefly with just a couple of points from each group. Could I ask you guys to start just maybe 2 points on what you feel the leader did to get the best out of you in the group? Just 2 points. And if I could ask you guys, yeah? Okay guys, I'm going to get you to share. So we've got a couple of points over here, really quickly. And again in Arabic if you feel. Sure.
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحقيقة اللي جعل القائد يخرج أفضل ما عندنا هو احترامه للفريق. يعني لمسنا من قائد المجموعة الأعلى أن رجل يعني يحاول أن يظهر احترام الفريق حتى الفريق يخرج أفضل ما عنده.
Okay.
وإن كان
Okay. So he said, what was the potential of the leader? It was he respected the team members.
Yeah.
And basically that helped them to achieve their goal. Okay. بس واحدة.
لا طيب هي القضية يمكن أثناء النقاش ذكرها القائد أنه حاول أن يستفيد من الممارسات السابقة اللي كان يشاهدها وهو فرد. يحاول أن يجتنب الأشياء اللي ما هي جيدة ويطبق الأفضل ويحسن.
Basically what the leader or what made them achieve their task is the leader himself, he was watching the trials and errors and he avoided the errors for the
feeding back.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And maybe we could have something from this group. I'll take that.
Well, the leader have done 3 main things. I think those points made the team success. First thing, he was asking for opinion. So he got all the opinions of the team members. Second thing, giving tasks. So when he gave tasks to the team members, he knew they're capable of doing this task. Third one, the trust. He gave trust to the team.
Great.
He trusted the team, and they have done the task.
Thank you very much, and we'll just pass that on to the next group if we could. Thank you.
أنا أعتقد في نقطتين مهمة إنه
Again, you can whisper to
There's two important points.
شرح القائد الغاية.
The way the leader explained the task.
شرح الغاية الأساسية من وجودنا، من عملنا، إيش بناخذ في النهاية. ثم بعد ذلك فتح المجال للنقاش كيف نصل.
He gave us the chance, or he explained to us what we need to do to reach there, and the end goal, what we need to achieve.
Okay, good.
أعتقد الثاني إنه حاول يرشدنا لبعض الأدوات لكنها ليست إلزامية. أشياء تنبيه. لكنه فتح المجال ممكن نستخدم أي أداة ثانية.
Okay. قصدك بعدها إيش؟
An instrument, the tools, how to reach to that result.
Yeah. I understood that. Yeah. So he gave you the tools to do the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But he's not restricted to these tools. He's open our mind. So how to reach to that outcomes or our goals.
Great.
We usually use this and this and this tools, but sometimes, please, do you have any other tools that we can reach it in an effective way?
Great. So that's great. So he's looking at the abilities within the group to make the best. Thank you very much. If you could just pass it to this group there. And again, in Arabic is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
The leader was listening to others' points of view and ideas. He listened to everyone individually. Then he summarized. And then he summarized from their point of view.
Yeah.
Yes, from their point of view.
على أساس يكون الناتج بالنهاية ناتج الجروب ككل.
Okay. Then by doing that, so he got everyone in the group to participate in involvement.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. That's superb. So I think that's everybody, Andy. We've gone round with it there. Yeah. So guys, we'll just move on to the next bit there. But I think the important thing is that what you've mentioned is that looking at the resources that you've got in the team, what can people offer to make what you're doing even better than you can offer by yourself? So what behaviours of other people, skills that they can bring to a task? Okay.
Yeah, it was actually a really good performance, I think, up there. What I noticed was, in comparison to groups who were working in their first language, you actually did as well, if not better, than a lot of groups doing that activity, being completely on top of the language, so well done. Okay, we've got a few things to do that are important, that are catching up in some way, and then we're going to move on to the ERAS team styles thing. One of the first things is, as we said early on, we failed to take good photographs of each of the peer development groups, and we need to know who's in them. So I'm going to actually ask you to do the same exercise that we did last time again. So if I give you some post-it notes and a pen in each of these groups, then we'd like a very clear, very big first name that we can call you by, displayed in front of yourself, please. Okay.
So what should we do?
First name, please. Big style on the post-it note, and then get your peer development group together, and we will take a photograph of you. We couldn't read the names last time properly because in some cases they were too small.
A really big name.
And we're appointing Abdulaziz into this group here. Thank you very much. Say again?
Is that two groups there?
Yeah, there's. We need the 4 groups.
One there. This is one. Is that
Okay, let us begin with taking a photograph of you guys.
One picture is $10.
One picture with all 4 of you in it. Fantastic. So, okay, close together, gentlemen.
One picture at the side.
Yeah. A number. Okay, close right in. Oh, that's much better. Okay. I'm quite confident about that one. Okay, fellas, could we have a picture of your group here? Maybe stood up.
And there's 2. Do you want to write the 3? Do you want to write the names?
The people who aren't here, you mean? Yeah, actually, that would be really good. If maybe you just write them on post-it and hold the post-its up, that'd be great. Are you guys ready to roll? Yeah.
First name or
First name, the name that we can know you by. So.
because the second.
Yes, please.
You've 2 members missing, haven't you?
Yes.
Could you just jot down their names and hold those post-it notes so we know who's in the group?
They are in London to prepare the next session. Our group missing 2 people. They are in London now.
Ah, great. Okay, it's probably. Okay, are we ready? Are you ready to go? You can't remember the names?
We're missing something. We forgot his name.
Okay, you didn't have
We can
your.
draw him. Can we draw him?
You don't have your workbook from last time, do you? Because last time, if you remember, you wrote down everybody's details. You don't have it. Okay, all right. We'll work.
Last time you take a picture for us. Yeah, we can check it from the picture. Okay.
The picture's a very bad picture.
No, trust me. Zoom in.
No, we can't.
We tried. Just move your hand a little. That's it. That's it. Really. Yeah, okay. Okay. Now we're talking. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, fellas, are we ready to roll here?
Yeah, we are.
This is a full group. This is the only full group, I think.
انا يعني كلمه دقيقه
مسكة اليدين عندهم فيها قولان.
Okay, close in.
يلا عندنا.
That's it.
Big boss.
So you are a full group, I think.
Yes.
There's nobody missing.
No, still one.
Still one missing. Okay.
Mazen, yes.
Okay.
Mazen.
Maz, right. Maybe just write his name on one of those, and then something like that, so that we know who's missing. Yeah, fantastic. Okay.
حتى بصبعك وقل كذا. ممتاز.
Okay. Close in a little bit, please. Really, really tight. That's it. Thank you, Chancellor. That's great.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, and look this way. Perfect, thank you. All right, we're good.
You wasn't in the group, Andy.
Okay, that's fine. Mutaz was thinking about which group would be best. I think if you head for that group there,
no problem.
That would be great. Thank you very much. If you could just write your first name onto a. There are some here. There are some here. I'm just going to do your group again. We're going to invite your colleague here into your group. So.
صورة جديدة اكتب اسمك الاسم يا اخي عطنا الاسم انا الخطاط حقه ان شاء الله الكاتب
Okay, lovely. And if you could just get that together again, that would be great. I check. Okay. Okay, if you have new people in your group or you have mislaid the workbook from the first session we did where you wrote down the contact details of the people in your group, please make sure you don't go home today without having their contact details. You will need to be talking to them. So, let's move on. Oops.
No problem. Use the YouTube.
We do use YouTube. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, are you thinking about the presentation piece?
Yeah.
Just hold for that. We're going to have a talk about that in a second. So, right, could you please stick your hand up in the air if you think you're on a training course? Stick your hand up in the air if you think you're on a training course. Well done, well done. Okay. All right. Are you on a training course? Well, I would say you're not on a training course, because a training course deals with facts. It deals with knowledge, information, and I guess, obviously, it deals with skills. That's a training course. For a training course, you turn up. That's about the most important thing. You turn up and you kind of absorb some of this stuff. We're not doing that. We're doing this. And you could say that it's actually a self-development program. And here, yes, we are talking about some information. We are talking about some knowledge, but mainly we're talking about behaviours. That's why all the things that we're asking you are around what people did or what people said. Not what people knew, but what people actually did or said. And together with behaviours goes mindsets. You talked about having respect for other people in your group. The way that you approached as a leader an exercise is about your mindset. And it's also about development. It's about commitments. One of the differences here with the training course idea, and of course, training courses are useful things. I'm not saying they're not very useful things. But generally, you can expect other people to hold you to account in a training course. A big difference on a development program is you are much more interdependent, and you can expect to hold each other and yourselves to account. Okay. So we're looking at, can we see that? Yeah, we can. We're looking at this modular kind of idea. We started off with an induction, and we led pretty much straight through to this. We invited you to do the questionnaire in here somewhere, didn't we? And the questionnaire was about your orientation towards people, thinking, feeling, and drive. And we did the first module that we did last time. We did a couple of great practical activities. And that was around setting up a way of working. This ERAS stuff going down here happens all the way down. Another really important thing we set up last time was this idea of peer development groups. You don't get those on training courses generally, but you do get them on our development programs. And we've just reinforced those. And they're a really important vehicle for us on this program, because they are the way that you'll work collaboratively to challenge each other and to support each other around really developing your leadership. Not about how much you know, but about what you do. So they're really important groups. And when we ask you to be in peer development groups, these are the groups we want you to get into. Okay? So we'll be asking you to do that again on these parts, the peer development groups. Now we need to understand how it has come about that at the moment, as I understand it, we don't have any presentations from the peer development groups. Okay? So we had hoped that part of what we would do today and tomorrow is to hear back from each of those groups on a particular topic. So those were the topics that we chose. So these were all around teams. Now, we don't want to say, hey, what's happening, you've done wrong, but we do want to say, hey, what's happening, we need to understand. Because if we're asking you to do something that's not reasonable and not realistic in terms of the time that you have, or in terms of your other commitments, then we should stop asking you. Okay? But asking you to do group type presentations or research is an important part of the design that we set up. So please let me know, what is it that we need to do differently, or you need to do differently, to be confident that we get what we're expecting on modules in terms of people coming back having created some kind of presentation. We're trying to not make them too arduous or too lengthy. So 5 minutes would mean a minute or so from each of 4 individuals perhaps, or it might mean collaborating over the telephone to produce something that's around 5 minutes long, or delegating it to somebody. But tell me now, what is it that gets in the way? Do we need to explain it differently? Do we need to abandon the idea because it's not going to work? I don't want to come into the next module hoping that you've done some of the preparation work and just find, it's not been done. That's very frustrating for me. I'll ask Mutaz to perhaps translate some of the substance of that, and we'll see what comes up.
اوكي. الجلسه اللي راح اعطوكم هذه جروبات معكم التاسك ان تسووا برزنتيشن لمده 5 دقائق. الجروب الواحد لو في 5 اشخاص معناها كل شخص دقيقه. فهو سؤاله انه ولا احد من الجروبات جاوا وسوى هذا الشيء. صح؟ فسؤاله هو انه ليش السبب؟ هل انه الموضوع والمشروع مو واضح؟ او لازم يغيروا طريقة العمل الجماعي هذا؟ ايش المشكله اللي جالسه تواجهكم في الواجبات؟ حتى الواجبات اللي بنسويها يوم السبت يعني كان فيها صعوبه ان الناس ترسل الواجب. في يعني ممكن نقول لك يمكن 2 بس اللي ارسلوه في الوقت، الباقيين كان افتر لونج تايم، وفي ناس الى اليوم ما ارسلوا. وهو بيعطي الواجب للجلسه اللي بعدها، كان ما هي الطريقه انه كل مره تعطي واجب وما يصير والموضوع يمشي كذا.
هل كان مطلوب الارسال؟
لا، كان انه اليوم نسوي عليه برزنتيشن. جاهزين؟ انتم جاهزين؟
احنا جاهزين، هو فقط لما بدا احنا كنا مثلا المهمه اللي عندنا تيم ديفلوبمنت بس كان كتبها تكمن، احنا ما انتبهنا لتكمن، بس احنا موضوعنا جاهز وحنا متوزعين.
Okay, they said that they're ready. They have their presentation.
Fantastic,
but
thank you.
They have the presentation on team development, not on document team development. They've done another version of team development.
All right, so you have a presentation ready to roll. That's fantastic.
So okay, المجموعة هذه بتيجي تسوي العرض, so they'll come and present it before this group. And the other groups, ايش المشاكل اللي جالسة تواجهكم؟
لا بس حصل بس سوء تواصل بس، لكن الحمد لله حليناه وحنا جاهزين نقدم شيء على الواجب اللي.
We'll do you as first thing tomorrow morning, I think. Early tomorrow morning. Early tomorrow session, we'll do it.
One of the groups, they say they find some difficulties in the there was miscommunication, and they have addressed it now, they've sorted it out, and they have promised that for the next session they will have it ready.
time tomorrow.
متى بتسووا الجلسة الثانية؟
لا جلسنا تناقشنا الحين.
طيب متى جاهزين تسووا
About 5 o'clock. About 5 o'clock.
يعني يمكن واحد يجي يتكلم بس.
ممكن واحد
بس الموضوع اللي اختار كل مجموعة موضوع. Okay, so we have this group as well, they can do it. Okay, so لما جينا اليوم ولا أحد يكون كان ready. Everyone is ready.
I'm glad we've done this.
One second, one at a time.
يس يعني التواصل ترى من جهه منظمه يعني ضعيف يقول لك نقدر يرسل يوم الاثنين مثلا الخميس يرسل فيه كاتب طيب الشيء الثاني يرسل الواجب ردوا على الوسيله
صح
على السبب انا ما ادري
لا في هم عارفين نفسهم ما يحتاج للاسف.
لا بس يرسلوا
هذه نسويها في الوقت.
انا يسوي الكتب اللي طلبت نلخصها ما ابغى اقدم شيء. الدكتور عارف انا يعرف تنفيذ.
Okay, so you're ready guys. So we have only one group missing.
Okay. And the group that's missing, is that the group that we're going to look at Belbin? So, do we have a presentation about Stephen Covey? We have? Fantastic. Do we have a presentation about 3 social motives, Douglas McClelland?
Yes.
We do? Remarkable. So it's Belbin, the one that we're missing?
Yes.
Okay.
This group here.
Don't worry. Right. Guys, thank you very much to engage with that, because we would otherwise have worked on a complete misunderstanding from our part. So thank you. We're going to rely then on these presentations, but they'll take place tomorrow, because we need to get some work done this afternoon around the team roles piece. Great, so let's start that work. Yippee! Right, do you remember what we did upstairs in terms of hands-on? Hands-on, a person who was great at getting the group into action. Hands-on, a person who was great at bringing in an idea. Hands-on, a person who was good at coordinating activity and bringing in contributions. You remember all those descriptions that we used when we were doing the hands-on feedback. Let's have a look at all this now in some detail. First of all, let's just define what we mean by a team. So in general, we mean that it's a group of people who have a common goal, that there is some need for interdependence between members. Sometimes we use the term loosely, a team. It simply happens to be a group of people in the same place. No, there needs to be some meaning and necessary interdependence. That we have complementary skills and contributions in there. So they kind of somehow have to fit together. It's not the case that everybody brings the same skills. As in, for example, I can think of sales teams which are not teams. They are groups of people. They have some kind of common goal, but there's very little interdependence, and they don't have complementary skills actually, so I would contend that's probably not a team. But they are accountable for their own performance, and that somehow this team is greater than just the parts that are in it. So we'll take that as a given. Oops. Where all this thought and theory is coming from is from a chap really whose name is Meredith Belbin. He was an Englishman, he's still alive, and he was doing research at Cambridge and then more sort of industrially, and he had a theory. His theory was, if I get a group of very bright people together, they will outperform, they will do better than groups who do not have that level of intellect. So he created a way of finding out whether that hypothesis was true. And he designed an exercise, in some ways similar to the exercises that we're doing with you, but over a slightly longer duration. It lasted a whole day. And he chose groups based on their IQ and then on some personality factors, because one of the things he found early on was that the groups he created of tremendously intellectually capable people, they never came last, but they very, very rarely came first in the competitive exercises that he created. And he realised that there was more to this than intellect. There was something that wasn't to do with intellect, which was about performance. And to cut a long story much shorter, he used a psychological type questionnaire to define originally 8 and then 9 different roles that he could see were necessary in a high-performing team. And he tested it and tested it and tested it to be confident that these roles were accurate and that the model bore out. That's Belbin in a nutshell. The things we were asking you earlier are those roles. A person who is great at bringing an idea in. A person who is great at looking after the team. A person who is great at looking outside the team. A person who is great at taking somebody else's idea and making it work. In one line, you could summarise his thought and research as no one is perfect, but a team can be very close to being perfect if it utilises different contributions. We could have used Belbin's work directly for this. We chose instead to use the ERAS work that is parallel to this. It uses slightly different titles for the roles, but the substance and content is just the same. So we'll now switch to the ERAS descriptions. And they call them team styles rather than team roles. So what is this about again? It's about a preference, a preferred pattern of behaviour that you often find yourself in. As before, the information that you're going to get doesn't tell you directly how good you are at anything, but it does tell you how often you prefer to be there, how comfortable it is to be in that role. So let's learn the language, a common language, to help talk about how people act. These ideas are helpful because they can offer insight into blind spots in teams. As Belbin found, if you fill a team full of highly intellectually capable people who all prefer to be giving ideas, what you get is a lot of ideas. What you don't get is a lot of action. What you don't get is a lot of coordination. You just get a lot of ideas. So they don't give direct information, and they can be dangerous if they're used for selection purposes. A British car organisation got very interested in this and chose to create their teams based on this information. And it wasn't good. I wouldn't say it was a disaster, but it wasn't good. It's not the whole story. There's more about the chemistry of the way that people work together. But still, it's a very useful language. Let's look at the language then. We have 9 styles. I'll describe them in a moment. They fit in to those aspects on the questionnaire that you saw were about people, feeling, drive, and thinking. And I'll talk about each of them in turn. Now is a good time to have this handout in front of you. And if you don't have that handout, Ian or Mutaz will just make sure that you do have. Now is a good time to have one of these. I'm afraid we don't have an Arabic version of the handout, or not yet anyway, but we will be giving you an Arabic version of your feedback in the same way as previously. So you're going to be getting, in a little while, a single sheet of information, and it'll be like this pizza. It'll show you against each of the 9 team styles whether you identify as a weak match, a moderate match, or a strong match for that particular role. And it's likely that you'll have a mixture of all those things. Let's have a look at the roles in turn. Okay. Here we have the coach role, and that's the person that I talked about earlier who brought other people's contributions in. This person would be mature in outlook, not in years, not talking about age, but mature in outlook. Not inclined to big emotional swings. They'd be quite confident about who they were. They'd likely receive respect, and they'd be strong as a delegator. Now, the role would involve guiding a group towards objectives. We've heard that as being something that you felt was fundamentally important to the way that we worked in the practical exercise. Makes the best use of team resources. Recognises where team strengths and weaknesses lie. These are specific areas that you highlighted earlier. Makes the best use of the potential of individual team members. So this is very much the coach role in this model. The coach will have some positive qualities, and they need to be there, really. They're likely to be calm and good-natured. They're likely to welcome contributors rather than push them away. They'll keep that strong sense of where we're going, objectives, and they'll be a good listener. This is an important part. There can be some allowable weaknesses. This doesn't mean that if you have the weaknesses, that's your preferred role. It just means that if you have all of this, then it's possible that this can be the case. So in this case, if this person is a great delegator, makes best use of team resources, it could be that they could be seen as manipulative at times. It could be that they could be seen as offloading the personal work by pushing it away from them. It doesn't matter much. Those are allowable weaknesses, providing they're under control. This is the important stuff up here. Okay, we'll skip through these quite quickly. The perfectionist, that's the person, when we asked you to put your hands on a person who was great with detail, that's likely to be the person who's going into the role of perfectionist. They're accurate, they're detailed. They finish things. They may not be the strongest person on starting things, but they finish things. They ensure that schedules are met. They look for errors. They're conscientious, very thorough. It is an allowable weakness of that role that they may be inclined to worry about small things and find it hard to let go. But that's their positive stuff, the perfectionist role. The doer. This is the person who can take a plan and can make it work. They may not come up with the ideas. They may not look outside the group. But what they can do is apply practical discipline. This person does what they say they're going to do. This person is reliable. They've got that discipline. They can be counted on. It could be that that person, it would be allowable if they weren't the most flexible person in the group. New possibilities, new ways of doing things, and unproven ideas are unlikely to light this person up. They're not going to say, hey, a great new way of doing this. No, they're not going to say that. The critic. Who's the critic? The critic is this role that gets decisions right. Very analytical. Sees the flaws. Judgmental. But sound judgment. Very shrewd. That person may well lack some drive and the ability to motivate others, and they can be perceived as detached and unemotional perhaps, but that's their positive contribution to a high-performing group. The creative person. This is the ideas person. This is the person who's bringing in imagination and creativity. It's the intellectual capital of the group. They're likely to be able to think outside the box. However, it may be that a weakness they could have is to be felt to be up in the clouds. Not good at understanding practical details. And also, not necessarily communicating their thoughts in a way that works. This role often thrives on praise, but isn't good at accepting any criticism. The networker. The networker is the person or the role that looks outside the group. I asked when we were doing the hands-on feedback for who was interested in what the other group were doing and how they were getting on. That's a networker who's interested in that. Somebody who looks outside, likely to have lots of enthusiasm and to naturally be a person to negotiate. Loves new things, loves responding to challenge. the allowable weakness here is that they could lose interest once the initial fascination's gone, and can be quite over-optimistic. If you have people who naturally slot into that role, if they're in a team you're working in, you need to be careful that the over-optimism isn't something that can creep in. Okay, catalyst. What's the catalyst about? This is the person who drives the team to action. They're likely to be competitive, to be motivated. It's a big role. They shape what's happening. They can make unpopular decisions. They're not hanging on to that decision, weighing up. They're likely to drive it forwards quickly. However, this person might well be a person who's prone to irritation and impatience and can make situations uncomfortable, not necessarily in a good way, and may be prone to taking people on in argument. Of course, those allowable weaknesses are balanced by the positive. The expert. The expert is the person who brings to the table a depth of technical capability that no one else has. With the rapid increase in information technology, most senior teams need somebody who has that depth of expertise. However, it's often quite deep and narrow expertise, and they may have a lack of interest in fields outside their own specialism, and may often focus hard on the technical rather than the whole solution. Okay, last couple. The facilitator. This is a person who gets the best out of the team, who is conscious around what's going on in there. They're sensitive to the feelings of others. They often become popular because of that sensitivity. They promote team spirit, that oil in the machine, and avoid friction. It's another role that needs to be a good listener. They value compromise rather than collision. They want to work with. They can be indecisive at moments of crisis because their need to promote team spirit can sometimes feel out of balance with getting a result. And they can sometimes be perceived as sitting on the fence in discussions. Is that phrase, sitting on the fence, familiar to you? At all? Is the phrase, sitting on the fence, familiar to anybody? It just means that they're not going one way or another, they're kind of wavering. Okay. Who do you think out of those roles challenges the team to improve? Any takers? Not necessarily the coach. Who would challenge the team to improve? Out of those roles, what do you think? No, out of the roles that have been described, one role includes within it the idea that they're quite likely to challenge the team. Not really facilitator. Catalyst, exactly. So if I could just hold your catalyst up. So this is the person who's assertive, drive. That's the person who's likely to challenge the team. How about the role that's about putting ideas into action? The role that's about putting doer, exactly that, the doer. How about ensuring timely completion? Which one would that be? Perfectionist, brilliant. Who's interested in encouraging cooperation? Facilitator, and another one as well. Coach, exactly. Who's keen on exploring outside opportunities? Outside opportunities. No, not the creative. Not so much the creative. The creative will think outside the box. The networker. The networker is likely to explore outside opportunities. Now, who's presenting the new ideas? Yeah. Who's great at analysing the options? Yeah, critic. You got all this stuff. And who provides specialised skills? The expert. Okay. Just so that I reinforce the idea that this isn't so much about what you're very good at, but it is about your preference. So let's say that we take the catalyst role and we look for somebody who is generally known in the world who seems to fill those behaviours. I think somebody who fills those behaviours, let's go back and find it. Catalyst. There we go. Okay. Right. Drive, assertive, competitive. Causes change, shapes, readiness to challenge, prone to irritation, impatience, can be. I think it's Donald Trump. I do. I think Donald Trump fits into a category of predominantly catalyst, and it's a good example of not necessarily being good at being a catalyst, because most people, including me, you may have different thoughts, but would say that that isn't an effective way to be a catalyst. Okay, back to where we started. There we go, that's what we want. It's 7:45. I just need to take a time check now. Do we need to break again for any longer than 5 minutes before about 8:20, or can we work through with just a short break?
I think for the prayer time, we can go 5 minutes more.
Yeah.
Take a break to go to break.
Great, so 5 minutes more now.
If it's
Yeah,
possible.
fantastic. Then let's get your feedback out to you at this stage. We're going to have a bit of a hard time here, unless we invite people out. Okay. Yeah. Right on the table. Okay, we have an Arabic version and an English version of your feedback. Your feedback looks like essentially that page there, with a description which includes, for each of the team roles, whether you identify as a strong, a medium, or a weak match. So the styles you're most comfortable to assume is strong. The styles which you can assume are moderate. And the styles which it's unlikely you would assume and would be uncomfortable if you were to be put in that situation would be weak. This is not about how good you are at things, it's about whether they'll be most comfortable to assume. So what we'll do now is invite you to just come up, make sure you've got the right sheet, and make sure you've got an English and an Arabic version. And then I think we'll take a break. What time could we get back together?
After 20 minutes.
After 20 minutes. So we could be back at about 8:15, do you think? That work?
8:15,
okay. Yeah. Okay, and we'll meet again at 8:15 to look at that feedback. I'll write that time up. Okay, so when you've got your feedback, have a look at it. We'll be back in here at 8:15 to resume the session. Okay, everybody. So there's an important question here, I suppose, which is, We've got information here about our team styles. Last time we had information about some more general behavioural preferences. Why are we getting the team style stuff if, for example, we don't often work in teams? How are we supposed to use this? And the answer is a complicated one, to be honest. The answer is a complicated one. There's several levels to it. The team styles model, in some ways, is a more immediately applicable one to a lot of people working inside organisations. They can use that data quite quickly. How might they use it? They might use it to look at themselves and how they work with others. I myself have quite a strong preference for the catalyst kind of contribution, and often I need to consciously turn that down when I'm working with others and working in groups, because people can see it and experience it as too much. So on a personal development level, I can get some information that's helpful to me from that. On a leadership level of getting myself in other people's shoes and looking at what is happening in a group of people that I am responsible for, it's a really useful model. It may be that you have a group at work that have an awful lot of, let's say creative people in it. It may be that considering this language lets you conclude that, right, okay, we need to make sure that we get good at communicating what we're doing, because naturally these creative people are probably unlikely to do that. And then to check, is that actually the case? Yes, it is the case. Okay, in that case I might need to do something differently as a leader of that group to make sure that we compensate for some of those potential weaknesses. So you can use it in a number of ways, really. What I'd like you to do with your feedback now is to do this exercise here, which is to take feedback, take a pencil or a ballpoint pen, not a big pen, a small pen, and where you read something, if it chimes for you, if it resonates for you, if you think, yes, I can see that in myself, you'd put a tick next to it. If there's something in there you think, well, that isn't how I am, this isn't correct, then put a cross by it. And if there's something in there that you think, I'm not sure about that, it gives me some food for thought, then put a question mark by it. Okay? So just quickly run through it in terms of the sentences, and are there any ticks, crosses and question marks that you can put in? Just do that individually for no longer than 5 or so minutes. Okay, so really quick skip through it. Ticks, crosses, question marks. Is anybody short of a pen? Okay, we've all got pens, good. While you're doing that, I'm going to give you one of these simple folders, and this is purely for your feedback from last time and this time to go in. Please put a name on it. So this is feedback only. The folder is just for your feedback, so the stuff that you had last time in terms of the ERAS Quest stuff can go in there, this can go in there, and your leadership style stuff, it's all in one place, and it's less likely to get lost in your papers. So.
Yeah, I think we'll push it back to the next time if we get with them to present in the group. But thank you for doing it. Was it useful?
I'm just thinking, I've said that we'll close by 25 to. A lot of people working to that. If we end up socialising this in those peer development groups, it's going to take another 15 minutes. So I think we're going to actually close on this, which is a bit. But anyway, that's what we'll do. We can pick it up, yeah.
Do you set a target?
Yeah, 10,000.
10,000. My sister's almost fanatical about it. She's about to go to bed and she looks, and then she'll be running down the stairs to get it.
Do you know if we've got the same room tomorrow, or are we somewhere else?
Yeah, I was asking them. Tomorrow, I think we will have.
Ah, great. So we can leave gear in here, can we? So we can perhaps leave our. Yeah. Okay. What I'm inclined to do now is invite them out and get them into that. Tell them what's going to happen tomorrow, why we're working in teams, and wish them good night, really. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be. Are we not giving you that already? We will send it by email. There's not much there that isn't in your that feedback, but yeah, I thought we were doing a set of the whole slides, so yes, we'll make sure that you get some. So, okay, everybody, put my microphone on again. What we're going to do, fellas, is we're running quite close on time here, so we're going to close very shortly. Can I just invite you to drop what you're doing and come out here, please?
Please.
It might be worthwhile going around again to set up this folder is to put 3 pieces of paper in.
Yeah.
Just to talk about that.
Yeah.
I've got my
Give us a
profile
spare.
with me.
Give us a spare. Ian, they're there. It's all right. Yeah. Great, that's it. Thanks. Okay, fellas, out here. Out here. Okay, can we get a circle and can we close right in? So. That's not a circle. We would call that a rugby ball. You familiar with rugby?
Yeah.
So it needs to be circular. We're on a football, not a rugby ball. Still a bit of a rugby ball. Close in, close in, close in, close in. That's better. Yeah, we're going to get in there. Okay, that's good. Great, thank you. Okay, just a couple of things to finish off the day. Thanks very much for your efforts over the course of this day. It's been great. The bit I especially enjoyed was the hands-on feedback. I think it's the first time people have really looked at each other and gone, "Oh, what do you do then?" Oh, I see. So it's great. A few things. This is only for your feedback. It's only got room for the 3 bits of information, and you have 2 of them now. The idea of giving you this is to make sure that your feedback doesn't end up lost in all the other bits of paper that you will have to deal with. Because this is quite valuable and might be stuff that you look at again a number of times over the next, even years perhaps, to see where you were and where you're going. And we will be using it at Brady, yeah. So that's why you have this. And that's why it's important to get your name on it and so on. Many of you work in groups and teams, not all of you. This isn't about a team development process that we're going through, but it does have some characteristics of needing to work in an interdependent team, because that's a vehicle that we're using for you to learn about yourselves and your impacting groups. So that's why we're doing the tasks we're doing. They're quite simple, they're not as complex as the things that you face in work, of course not. But they do give us a way of starting to talk about individual contribution, individual impact, what a person's thinking about and what they're doing. So that's why we're doing that. Tomorrow you can expect another practical task which we'll do in a structured way. There'll be leaders, there'll be observers, there'll be an actual operator group as well. You can expect to have conversations in your peer development groups about your take on the ticks, crosses and question marks that you've just come up with. So you'll be sharing that within your peer development group, not feeding back outside of that. We'll be trying to further establish your peer development group as somewhere that you expect to talk about what you're doing with the thoughts and mindsets and behavioural insights that you're getting on this. That's where you'll take them. And we'll probably be doing less speaking across the whole group. Just from a time point of view, it's not as effective as having you guys talk in a 4 or a 5. And we seem to have really nicely balanced peer development groups now, so we're looking forward to that. Thanks very much for your time today, and we'll call it a day. Thank you.
See you tomorrow, guys. Safe journey.